All right, shalom, shalom. I'm going to start out this video by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakak, Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone, and the men on down that rule well, that teach well, while learning the truth 100% according to the Bible. I also want to say shalom to the elect, the 144,000 men, the prophets, the servants scattered abroad the four corners of the earth, and shalom to the Akwaf, which are you sisters that are sincere, and your children, shalom. And today's video is going to be another video from the brother Arrow of Indignation 144. And from the title, it says, Japan threatens Babylon. We will dump all debt we own of yours back into your economy if provoked, right? So this is supposed to be one of America's closest allies, right? And, they're basically telling America that, if you want to do these tariffs and all of these different things to try to affect us, then we're going to affect you worse. That's what they're basically saying. So, I mean, we're seeing more and more that this place America is falling, man. And I'm going to go to that precept. Bear with me. I'm going to go to the book of Mark. The queendom of Esau Edom is divided, and we know what the Lord says about a queendom that's divided, that it cannot stand. All of America's allies and people that at once upon a time had their back and was, their partners in trading and goods and all of these different types of things. Now these people are starting to turn their back on the whore, man, just like the Lord prophesied they all would in the latter days, because ultimately a lot of America's allies is going to be the ones to come together to burn this place with fire and nuclear missiles, right? So that's what all of this stuff is building up to, the downfall of Esau Edom, the so-called white man. So I'm going to go to this precept right here. Bear with me. This is Mark chapter 3, and I'm going to start at verse 23 in the KJV, and it said, and he called them unto him and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? Verse 25. Or 24, I should say, Salakia. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. Verse 25. And if a house, the house of Edom, be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. Verse 26. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand but have an end. And that's what you're seeing happening right in front of our faces. You got all of the EU and NATO nations against one another. You got their allies coming against them. Everybody is basically turning their back on America, man. And this is all setting up for that Third World War, where all of these nations are going to come together and destroy this place, man. So that's what everything is basically leading up to, man, as we can see, but I'm going to let this video play. But, and I'm going to get this precept as well, because the Lord said that in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, how all of these nations are going to be mad at Babylon, and we're starting to see that. All right, this is Jeremiah 51:7, KJV. Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, right? Therefore, the nations are mad, right? Ultimately, they took on all of these different philosophies of this place, subscribing to all of their warped philosophies and taking on Babylon's traditions and being drunk of the wine, being drunk of, the things in which it is that this economy or this wicked society pushes upon these other nations, and they go along with it for money and all type of other things. And these nations are seeing that all of these policies have ruined their countries, man, trusting in Babylon the Great America. So now these nations are mad at the whore, man, and they're about to direct that anger towards this place America. And that's why you got all of these nations that at once upon a time were enemies. Now they're all coming together, man, to team up against America. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing all of these different nations come together that at once upon a time you would have never thought in a million years they would unite. But now they're starting to come together in groups and things of that nature, because ultimately to go against this place, man. All right. But I'm going to get into this video just so we can, see what it is that the guy is talking about, But before I start, I want to say fair use under the 1976 Copyright Act. I'm not getting paid for this video. This is only for educational purposes only, so fair use.
Breaking news. The United States' closest ally has just declared economic war and is holding a $1.13 trillion nuclear option. Japan's finance minister just went on live national TV and announced that their $1.13 trillion in U.S. Treasury bonds is now a weapon. This is real leverage that could destroy the U.S. bond market and collapse the economy. If Japan sells even a fraction of that debt, interest rates will skyrocket. Home loans, car payments, and even credit cards will immediately get more expensive. Inflation will skyrocket, the economy will crash, and the dollar will get weaker. And if China joins in, it's game over. Together, China and Japan hold over $2 trillion of U.S. debt. A coordinated dump could collapse confidence in the U.S. bond market, which is the backbone of force the U.S. government to pay way more to borrow money just to stay afloat. Medicare, Social Security, and federal salaries will all be at risk. Your tax dollars will just go to damage control. This was a surgical, calculated warning. Trump's trade war has officially triggered an economic counterattack. The message is clear. Keep pushing Japan and they'll light the fuse. And if China follows, America will burn from the inside out.
What the United States is saying is completely unreasonable. Their logic is all over the place, and there's no consistency at all. However, when Japan negotiates with what they are saying, to be frank, it's akin to being extorted by a delinquent. If Japan gives in, thinking it's a negotiation or a deal, and compromises on its position, it sets a bad precedent as a customary practice. If you give money to someone extorting you, they'll just come back to extort you again. In the first place, even their equations are completely nonsensical. I wasn't good at math either, but if that equation appeared in a math test, it would definitely score 0. That's why, even though Minister Akazawa is serious and capable, there's a concern about whether it's okay for a serious person to handle this. Since they're not a straightforward opponent, they won't listen to straightforward reasoning. Even though all options were mentioned, you must never show compassion to an opponent who isn't straightforward. If you ease up on them, it will set a bad example. In any case, I hope we absolutely do not give in to America's extortion. This may sound harsh, but it really is extortion. If we comply with this, it will truly set a bad example. Truly. Minister Iwata, I know you might not have much time, but I highly recommend watching the documentary about Roy Cohn, the lawyer who mentored him.
Right, and we basically see everything in which it is that they're talking about, man. They're basically talking about they're tired of America bullying them, taking over their resources, basically, doing the things in which it is that they're doing, man. So like I said, I'm going to read Jeremiah 51:7 again, but I'm going to read it in a different translation because these nations, man, they're mad at this place, America, man. And like I said, this is ultimately what's going to lead to this place downfall, This is Jeremiah 51:7. I'm going to read it in the, let me see. I got the NLT. Babylon has been a gold cup in the Lord's hand, a cup that made the whole earth drunk, right? With their philosophies, their laws, their legislations, the LGBTK community, all of these philosophies that Babylon has pushed on these other nations, including the people here, right? A cup that made the whole earth drunk. The nations drank Babylon's wine and it drove them all mad, right? And that's why they're all coming together, to, basically go against this place because now they're all mad from all of the philosophies, believing in this place, the American dream, right? Because in order for you to be dreaming, you got to be asleep. So now the Lord is putting the spirit on these countries to wake up, and now they're all furious and mad at this place, right? But yeah, I'm gonna get back into this video just so we can watch a little bit more of it,
And the documentary about Mr. Trump. By watching those, I hope you can gain some insight into what kind of person Mr. Trump is. When you watch it, you really get the sense of, oh, this is the kind of person he is. During the tariff review, he was so relaxed that he went to his own golf course. It wasn't a decision made after much deliberation. He's really mocking the world. Well, Minister Akazawa is a serious person, and Minister Iwaya is also a serious person. So if you approach that person, seriously, you'll definitely just get taken advantage of. I believe that Minister Iwaya was quite spirited in his younger days.
Right. So we basically hear everything in which it is they're talking about, So basically, this is just, basically America's allies are basically turning against this place, man. And like I said, all of this is biblical prophecy, which is going to lead up ultimately to this place being destroyed in 1 hour, as it tells us in Revelation 18. So, Esau Edom is going down, man. But that's pretty much everything I had to say with today's video. Just something quick through the spirit. Lord's willing, it can be edifying to you, brothers and sisters that may come across it. Till the next time, I'm going to say shalom.